Origins is all new. CBS in 2 weeks.
NCIS Sydney is all new. CBS Friday, 8/7 Central.
Looking pretty tranquil for tonight with mostly clear skies, but boy, it's going to be cold. We'll have more weather details into the next several days coming up at 11.
Good evening, everyone. I'm John Truitt. Tonight on your WZMQ 19 News, President Trump is floating the idea of possibly running for a third term. We'll have reactions from political experts. Plus, an earthquake in Southeast Asia has taken the lives of over 1,700 people. We'll have the details. And we hear from the Michigan DNR on the status of the gray wolf population in the Upper Peninsula. Some are looking to remove the species from the endangered species list. Your 19 News starts now.
Live from the UP, this is WZMQ 19 News at 11.
Check it out, Marquette, as we head on into today. I'm meteorologist Tom DeVecchio. Cold start. We start out near 10 degrees in the morning, and that's no April Fool. We're looking at temperatures into the mid-30s, though a nice rebound in the afternoon. Might even be warmer than that, 34. In fact, we may pop up perhaps close to 40 if we're lucky here under generally partly sunny skies. But may have to deal with a little more wintry mix on Wednesday. More on that forecast later in the show.
President Donald Trump says he's not joking about serving a third term as president, but experts say that's not possible. Our Washington, D.C. correspondent Rachel Knapp reports.
In a phone interview with NBC News, the outlet reports Trump said there are, quote, methods for running for a third term.
This is not possible.
Political scientists say the 22nd Amendment in the Constitution limits the number of times a person can be elected to the office of the president to only 2 terms.
Donald Trump has said that there are ways for him to do it, but the only way is to get an amendment, a superseding amendment to the Constitution, which requires 2/3 of the House, 2/3 of the Senate, and 3/4 of the states. And he's just not going to get that. He's throwing this out because of Signalgate. He is trying to distract attention. You see that this is what he always does. He throws everything at the press and tries to get them to focus on every other thing to try to dilute the main story. And this is him trying to deal with this real problematic scandal facing his administration.
Dr. Todd Belt says it's extremely difficult to amend it.
If you can just get 1/3 of the House or 1/3 of the Senate or 1/4 of the states, you can sink it. I just don't see it happening. Obviously, the Democrats are going to vote against it, and a very closely divided Congress like we have, this is just a non-starter.
Trump was asked about it on board Air Force One.
Does that mean you're not planning to leave office on January 20th?
I'm not looking at that, but I'll tell you, I have had more people ask me to have a third term, which is in a way a fourth term because the other election, the 2020 election was totally rigged. But I'm just telling you, I have had more people say, please run again. They said, we have a long way to go before we even think about that.
In Washington, Rachel Knapp, WZMQ 19 News.
When asked about one possible method, like Vice President J.D. Vance running for president and then stepping aside if he won, NBC News reports Trump said that's one way of doing it, but there are others too. A new CBS News poll asks Americans about the economy and inflation, as well as President Trump's handling of immigration. CBS News Executive Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto, breaks it down for us.
We know this week brought some tough economic news, and Americans told us in recent polling they still rate the economy as bad. So what happens now as they evaluate what the Trump administration is doing on that front? Let me start with this measure of focus, because early on in an administration, it's often about what the public thinks a president is trying to do. Well, look at this. Nearly 2/3 say the administration not focused enough on trying to lower prices, but a majority does think that they're focused too much on imposing new tariffs. Now, why is that important? It's because of what they think tariffs might do. I tested this. What might they do in the short term and the long term? Because the administration's argument, of course, is partly that they might be positive over the long haul. Well, look, Big numbers think that tariffs will raise prices in the short term, but there are also many who think that they would raise prices in the long term too. So take a look, though, at what happens to Donald Trump's overall approval numbers. They've ticked down on handling the economy, ticked down on handling inflation. Let me turn to immigration, though, because that is net positive for the president. So let me show you why. Not just handling immigration, but also in particular, you get majority approval for his program to deport immigrants who are in the U.S. illegally. That remains positive. That's a look at the latest CBS News poll.
A massive earthquake in Southeast Asia on Friday has killed more than 1,700 people. Most of the dead are in Myanmar, near the epicenter of the quake. The military government there is asking for help. Rescuers are running out of time to save survivors. Anna Karen has the latest.
Lying on his stomach, aided by torchlight, the rescuer detects signs of life. It's been days since a deadly earthquake struck Myanmar, but remarkably, this woman is lifted out of the rubble unscathed. She was among a handful of survivors to be rescued, along with this man, sandwiched between slabs of concrete.
Hello.
But they are the lucky ones, as building after building in Myanmar's second largest city, Mandalay, and beyond, lie in ruins. Damaged roads, bridges and downed power lines have made it impossible for rescue teams to reach communities in this impoverished country. Engulfed by 4 years of civil war since a military junta seized power in a coup. Hours after the earthquake, reports the junta carried out airstrikes in rebel-controlled areas that had also been impacted, adding to the misery. So far, China, Russia and India have responded with humanitarian aid and teams on the ground, along with other regional neighbours. President Trump said the US will be helping. But once the face of international disaster relief, the US government's cuts to USAID and State Department programs could be felt acutely by Myanmar's earthquake victims, in a country now grappling with a humanitarian crisis. Meanwhile, in Thailand, hope is fading at the construction site, where dozens of workers were buried when the skyscraper collapsed moments after the earthquake hit. Rescue crews, with the help of cadaver dogs, continue to retrieve bodies as families keep vigil, refusing to lose faith their loved ones will be found alive.
There's conversations ongoing over whether or not gray wolves should be taken off the endangered species list. In Michigan, our own Kevin Hodge sat down with a public information officer from the DNR to hear about population numbers the state has been seeing. Here's a snippet of that conversation.
Well, what can you tell us about the current state of the population of gray wolf in the UP right now?
Well, based on our surveys that we do every other winter, it looks right now that the population is perhaps somewhat stable over the last decade or so, and we have a minimum population level that's like right around 650, 700, right around in there.
Okay, and that leads me to my next question is a lot of people wonder if they should be on the endangered species list right now. What are your thoughts?
Well, as far as are they a recovered species, that indicates whether they should be on that list or not. And gray wolves in Michigan are a recovered species. They've met population goals for recovery for more than 20 years. And so the DNR supports delisting or taking them off the endangered species list.
Okay, gotcha. So how much have numbers improved over those 20 years, would you say?
Oh, a lot, because in the late 90s, there were very few wolves in the Upper Peninsula. So.
As for their role in the UP ecosystem, what kind of role do they play up here?
Well, they're predators, so they help keep populations in check. Most people would say that they just eat deer, but that's not not real. But they'll help keep the deer population in check. Not necessarily as much with moose, because moose are big enough and they can kick them and stuff like that. So. But wolves also eat beavers and things like that. So.
Right. So many people might not know a whole lot of facts about gray wolves. What can you tell? What are some interesting facts about them?
I think it's interesting that, like, if farmers have livestock on their properties, they'll get like a llama or they'll get a donkey because they'll kick the wolves and protect the livestock. And then also they can be deterred with like moving flashers of metal or lights and things like that, which is kind of weird to think about, you know.
That full conversation can be found at WZMQ19.com. A new CBS News poll about the president is coming up next, right after the break.
Get an 11% rebate on your outdoor project at Menards. FVP has a wide selection of lawn and garden batteries to keep your outdoor power equipment running smooth. They're maintenance-free and durable for the toughest conditions. Get a 340 CCA battery for $36.99 after rebate. Get your boat ready for summer with a new marine battery from FVP. They're long-lasting and corrosion-resistant. Get this marine deep cycle battery for $86.99 after 11% rebate.
Save big money at Menards.
John's Auto is quickly becoming everybody's favorite place to get their car fixed. John's Auto is quickly becoming everybody's favorite place to fix their car. Was that right? For a better service experience, come to John's Auto Market. Why do I keep forgetting that word? Experience. Okay, go. 3, 2. For a better service experience, come to John's Auto Market.
And don't forget, I own the legendary Rousseau Bar. It's been around since 1936. It's a home away from home for many UP travelers. I had been sick for 3 months when I discovered that I was fighting a blood infection. The infection had deteriorated the aortic valve in my heart. I needed open heart surgery. Now I have a mechanical valve and a whole new appreciation for life. That's because of the doctors and nurses at UP Health System. Hands down, 100%. I would choose them over and over again.
Looking for your next level in real estate? Look no further than Next Home Superior Living. Stephanie's not just any realtor. She's energetic, talented, equipped with the latest technology, and decades of experience to serve you better. At Next Home Superior Living, we're not just selling homes. We're guiding clients and customers throughout the entire transaction. That's Stephanie Jones of Next Home. Visit stephaniesells.com and let her work with you for your next home. Don't settle for ordinary. Choose Next Home Superior Living for your extraordinary real estate journey.
Now, WZMQ TV19 First Warning Weather with meteorologist Tom DeVecchio.
Trying to think spring here. Okay, so let's put up some nice spring-like tulip tree here. Let's see what we can come up with here as we try to think of spring here, but hardly spring-like. It's going to be dry and cold as we head on toward Tuesday. And we could get another round of some freezing precipitation as we head toward Wednesday. This will not be a repeat of the weekend, but it could ice things up. It looks like Wednesday afternoon. Hopefully it's brief enough that by Wednesday night the temperatures pop up above freezing and hopefully stay that way for Wednesday night. A lot of uncertainty here, but again, at the very least, not seeing a repeat of the weekend. Hey, get the winter coat, gloves, hat for the kids on this cold start to the day on Tuesday. When the kids go home in the afternoon, at least it'll be decent sunshine, partly sunny skies, and temperatures will rebound into the lower to mid-30s, not seeing any kind of precipitation here. Winds generally out of the south for tonight and into the day on Wednesday, helping again to boost those high temperatures, maybe toward 40 if we're lucky here. And we'll keep that south to southeasterly flow. Here Wednesday, we're starting to see an increase in that flow. Now, unlike the weekend, we're seeing more of an east to southeast wind, so that's encouraging because it tells me, at least initially, that we won't have the cold air damming up here like we do with the northeast wind. That's what happened over the weekend and gave a lot of ice here, particularly central and southeast and eastern parts of the Upper Peninsula. For Tuesday itself, though, things are looking pretty good. Keep the partly sunny skies, and Tuesday night looks good. Into Wednesday morning, though, here comes the next warm front. It's going to bring snow at the start because it'll be cold enough for that. Then as things warm up aloft, maybe a hit of some freezing precipitation. But you notice, looks like by Wednesday evening, it goes back to all rain. And hopefully it stays that way for Wednesday night. Kind of a tough call on that. We will be watching. But for now, boy, get that blanket on tonight. It's going to be cold. Teens, even single digits. Yeah, March 31st, and we're getting single digits. And April, at least starting out a little better, with temperatures close to 40 degrees for many of us, along with partly sunny skies. After that, we'll have a possible mix again. Snow in the morning, a few inches of snow before it goes to freezing mix. And I believe it'll go to all rain by the end of the day. We'll keep things dry and tranquil for Thursday into the early part of the weekend.
Thanks, Tom. There have been more close calls at Washington's Reagan National Airport. On Friday, a military jet got close to a departing Delta flight, setting off an alarm in the cockpit. This is after the acting head of the FAA told senators it's safe to fly there. Chris Van Cleve has the story.
This morning, the FAA is investigating what happened at Washington's Reagan National Airport Friday. Delta Flight 2983 had just taken off from Minneapolis with 136 aboard when its pilots got a collision avoidance alert calling for evasive maneuvers. The reason? 4 Air Force T-38 jets were streaking towards a flyover at Arlington National Cemetery at about 350 miles an hour.
Was there an actual aircraft about 500 feet below us as we came off of DCA? Definitely not need to be affirmative.
At their closest point, the planes were about 6,000 feet apart horizontally and vertically separated by about 275 feet.
Once again, we have a conflict between a military aircraft and a civilian airliner, and that's not acceptable.
Just a day earlier, acting FAA Administrator Chris Rushello insisted flying was safe, but acknowledged there were so many close calls between airliners and helicopters, often from the military, at DCA over the last 13 years. The FAA should have seen the danger before January's mid-air collision killed 67 people.
Something was missed at the DCA crash. I take that seriously. I take that upon myself.
NTSB Chair Jennifer Homendy.
I wouldn't just put that on the FAA. I'd also put that on the Army.
Saturday, as this United flight with 131 on board was landing at DCA, pilots told air traffic control they may have hit a kite. The 737 landed safely and was undamaged.
The NASA astronauts who spent an unexpected 9 months in space are weighing in on their extended time in orbit. Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore held their first press conference since returning to Earth and reflected on how they're adjusting to gravity. Christian Benavides is in Miami with this story.
And splashdown, Crew 9 back on Earth.
For Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore, there's no place like home.
I wanted to hug my husband and hug my dogs. I had a good grilled cheese sandwich when I got home.
On Monday in Houston, the NASA astronauts held their first press conference since returning from the International Space Station following a 9-month stay in space.
Some happy waves, smiles all around.
For Wilmore, extended time in orbit meant he missed most of his daughter's senior year of high school.
This is the way we've trained our daughters from the time they were born, because their dad isn't a unique occupation, right? This is not the norm leaving the planet, and they understand that.
Both astronauts say they're adjusting to life on Earth. Williams says she's already running again.
I actually went out and ran 3 miles yesterday, so I will give myself a little pat on the back. Our trainers are rocking it.
Launched into orbit in June of 2024, their mission was originally scheduled to last just 8 days, but was repeatedly extended, the result of a series of mechanical and logistical challenges.
Merry Christmas!
In all, the astronauts spent 286 days in space. Wilmore says he shares responsibility for the unexpected extension of the mission with both NASA and Boeing, noting he should have asked more questions going into the mission.
There were questions that I, as the commander of the spacecraft, that I should have asked, and I did not. At the time, I didn't know I needed to. And maybe you could call that hindsight, but I'll start and point the finger and I'll blame me. I could ask some questions, and the answers to those questions could have turned the tide.
Williams and Wilmore say 9 months in space was all in a day's work.
Wilmore and Williams not only celebrated holidays in space, they even voted in the presidential election from space. They have repeatedly noted as challenging as the extended mission was for them, they believe it was more difficult for their families. Still to come on your 19 News, we have details on a program through the credit union that could help first-time home buyers. Buying a home for the first time.
Update your home with new GE appliances from Kirkish Furniture and Houghton. GE appliances are built to last, have print-resistant finishes, and offer high performance with energy efficiency. Kirkish has a large selection for both kitchen and laundry. Free delivery and 0% financing.
Here's your WZMQ CBS This is Home Community Calendar.
Gambling ads are getting pretty hard to ignore.
Bet now.
Free bet.
Bet now. Free bet. Bet for free. Bet. Free bet. Free bet.
If you choose to gamble, make sure you play it safe. For tips that will help, go to don'tregretthebet.org. A message from the Michigan Gaming Control Board.
Closed captioning sponsored by Range Bank of Upper Michigan.
On the next edition of Comics Unleashed, with your host, Byron Allen. As 5 of the most hilarious comics take it to the edge every night, and nothing is off limits.
That's what I learned in any relationship. Communication is the most important thing. Yeah. The more you can avoid it, the better you'll do. Just avoid it altogether.
Comics Unleashed.
Weekdays on WZMQ CBS.
This is home for CBS, WZMQ 19.
You're watching WZMQ 19 News, live and local, with Kevin Hodge.
Buying a home for the first time can be a daunting process. We sat down with a mortgage specialist from Honor Credit Union to find out ways to get into the home of your dreams. With the ever-increasing cost of living and higher rents, people are often unable to save for a down payment. Add in the complexity of the mortgage process, and you have a situation that intimidates many first-time homebuyers. Craig Helpy of Honor Credit Union explains how enlisting the help of a mortgage professional can get you into a home that otherwise seems out of reach.
Luckily, there are programs that we here at Honor have that can help those first-time homebuyers out. Whether it be a down payment assistance, whether it be just meeting with one of our experts to talk it over and see where they're at, so that they can get to the, which ultimately their goal is home ownership.
Helpy said there are many financing options available, including the Launch Program, a potential game changer for some. If you meet certain eligibility requirements, you may qualify for a grant of up to $20,000 toward the purchase price of a new home for first-time home buyers.
To qualify, you do have to be a first-time home buyer. The household income has to be at 80% or below of the area median income. You have to contribute at least $500 towards the purchase.
One of the requirements calls for home buyers to take a class in how mortgages work and what to expect. This hopes to take some of the mystery out of buying a home. The program will go into effect on April 15th and terminates when all the allotted funds are given out. But remember, this is a limited time offer on a first-come, first-served basis. In honor of Women's History Month, WZMQ 19 is highlighting female-owned businesses throughout the UP. Our own Andrew Hands has this week's story from Marquette.
When Lori Smith set up her first booth at the Marquette Farmers Market in 2015, she never expected her baked goods to take her as far as they have today.
The pies just took off and we were selling out every week.
After so much support from the area over the years, Lori and her longtime friend Patty Barton created Marquette's very first pie shop, Peace Pie.
Pie makes people happy, and we just had a really dedicated group of customers that just kept showing up for us.
The two have known each other for over 40 years as neighbors at one point, both sharing just as much love for baking. Patty is the owner of the building and stepped in while Lori was searching for places to open her business.
When she heard I was looking for a spot, she called me and she said, "Hey, we need to talk, girl." And here we are.
Both of them agree that if you find someone to work with who is just as passionate, it's all the much easier to move even further together.
So many people go into business thinking, doing the thing that they love to do, like baking, right? But there's so much more to that. And so you really have to have a vision.
Find a business partner that is looking in the same direction as you. And I couldn't have done this without Patty.
The bakery opened on Pie Day of 2024, and in just over a year they've been able to do more than just sell their in-house pies, but also offer catering options for events, as well as host a book club once a month with Bromley's Books. In Marquette, Andrew Hands, WZMQ 19 News.
In a world where we're constantly connected, it can be tough to put down our phones. But with studies showing more than 60% of Americans feeling overwhelmed by nonstop notifications, digital detoxing is gaining momentum. Tina Kraus shows us how people are embracing the tech-free trend overseas.
So hold your phone. A call to action rang out in a packed park in the British capital over the weekend, with hundreds holding up their phones to power them down.
You're just used to being plugged in at all times, and so it's really important to just reconnect and get back to what it means to be human.
The simultaneous shutdown hosted by the Offline Club drew big crowds in London.
So the moment we're going for is 4,000 people holding up their phones, turning it off at the same time.
The phone-free event is part of a growing digital detox trend.
It does seem to be gaining popularity. It seems like people are really craving those moments with each other and with themselves.
The Offline Club has opened chapters around the world, offering screenless sanctuaries to help people reconnect. Statistics show almost all Americans own a mobile phone and spend 4.5 hours on it each day, checking it more than 140 times. Something many digital-dependent Brits say they can relate to.
I've cut down on my notifications a lot for that reason, because it's stressful always having stuff on my phone. So it's nice, again, having a break where everyone's doing it.
The 2-hour tech timeout came as the sun was setting, with no phones out to capture the moment.
Actually, just being in the present and being able to watch it firsthand is precious.
A chance to recharge from the digital drain.
The Offline Club has hosted events in cities across Europe and the Middle East. Other digital detox groups here in the U.S. have hosted retreats, including screen-free summer camps for adults. Don't go away. Tom DeVecchio tells us about what to expect for our morning commute in a final look at weather when we come back.
Mr. Mattress here at Serta's Big Spring Sale, and it's going on now. There's extra discounts on all iComfort Pro mattresses and adjustable bases. Save up to $925. Zone Comfort design for full body alignment so you get a good night's sleep. At Shunk's, we carry a full line of Serta mattresses. They're all here for you to try. 22 different models and comfort levels to choose from. A nice plush queen-size perfect sleeper mattress is on sale for just $4.99. Shop Shunk's on Marquette today.
I thought it was just a rash, but it had a bullseye ring around it. My doctor said it was a tick bite. Luckily, we caught it early.
Ticks found in tall grass around your home can spread Lyme disease and other illnesses, which can lead to chronic health issues. The CDC estimates nearly 500,000 people across the country are diagnosed with Lyme disease each year.
I didn't understand why my brother was having so many asthma flare-ups. Sometimes he couldn't breathe. Turns out a roach problem at home was triggering it.
Allergens left behind by dust mites, roaches, and rodents are a major driver of asthma attacks, especially in children.
When I had a fever, body aches, and fatigue, I never thought it would have been West Nile virus. All it took was a mosquito bite while gardening.
Mosquitoes spread West Nile virus and many other diseases, and they can breed in standing water around your home. Protect your family from pests. Get the facts at pestworld.org.
It's hilarious. Hidden camera. Hijinks. The world's longest running prank show is back. Just for laughs, gags.
Weekdays on WZMQ CBS.
Things are looking pretty tranquil for tonight into Tuesday morning. Might set off a few isolated snowflakes here and there, but overall tomorrow looks pretty good. And after a cold start, we do get a little milder. Wednesday looks snowy in the morning, and I would expect at least a few inches of snow out of this before it goes to a freezing mix. And then quickly, looking more and more like it'll go to rain by the end of the day. So no repeat of the ice storm over the weekend, but it could get a little slick during that transition period for Wednesday afternoon. So into tomorrow, high temperatures approaching the upper 30s, maybe near 40, partly sunny. We get that mix on Wednesday, snow in the morning, a little mix, rain by late in the day, and we'll keep things pretty tranquil for Thursday right on through Saturday. Highs close to 40, seasonal, and maybe a little bit of wet snow, and you can see colder for the early part of next week.
And finally tonight, the city of Escanaba is joining a global event to usher in the summer season with music. On June 21st, the DDA will host its inaugural Make Music Escanaba event. Artists and bands of all genres and skill levels will perform at various locations throughout the downtown. Make Music Day started in France in 1982 and has since spread to over 120 countries. Escanaba is one of 3 Michigan communities participating this year.
You can be a beginner, you can be experienced and a professional, it doesn't matter. The idea is to get out, to enjoy the community, have people come by and listen to you, and just have some fun on the first day of summer and join musicians from all over the world as they're doing the same thing.
You can get more information on music in Escanaba by visiting our website, WZMQ19.com.
19 News is brought to you by Kirkish Furniture.
The IRS has collected over $1 billion in past due taxes this year, and they're aggressively targeting more taxpayers. Don't wait until the IRS comes knocking. Our team is